Hello, everyone. This is Alex, your friendly neighborhood solution consultant here at Appian in London, UK. Today, we're going to focus on the top 3 features in 24.4. And again, like in the last video, this is my top. This is in no way reflecting Appian's opinion of the top 3 features they've released in 24.4. It's just my personal preference, and it's something that I can use to go ahead and show you in real time how you can take advantage of them. Now, these 3 features are the new automation capability in Case Management Studio, the ability to embed portals in iframes, so basically embedding Appian portals in any other technology out there, and the ability to curate your columns in the read-only grid to be able to show them in an Excel export or not. This is a new functionality, which I think it's pretty useful for those of you who use the export to Excel functionality. Of course, we're going to have a couple of bonus ones because what's the top 3 without an extra 2? But let's dive right into the first one. Now, we're looking here at Case Management Studio. If you don't know what Case Management Studio is, this is an awesome solution built by Appian, and it's aimed at uh, setting you up for success in the case management side of things without having you to reinvent the wheel every time. There are plenty of videos on case management, but if you do want us to cover a specific topic on Case Management Studio, just write a comment on this video and we'll try to cover it if possible. Now, I'm gonna jump straight into what exactly is this automation feature in Case Management Studio. Now, if I switch from the workspace to my studio, and I'm going to open one of the already configured workflows for fraudulent transactions for credit card disputes. Now, in the workflow side of things, I am going to go ahead and update this. So what happens for this very small workflow is that the user has to fill in some details. The business user has to fill in some details, and depending on the pieces of data that we collect, you can route the flow on one flow or another depending on those pieces of data. So in this case, we're looking at the the amount of the transaction that the user inputs. So we can have a low intake, a medium intake, or a high intake. If you go ahead and look at this specific node over here, this is the automation. Of course, you can give it a name. This is just the type of activity. And the rules defined here are when the transaction amount is greater than 200, go to a medium intake. If the transaction amount is greater than 800, go to a high intake. Otherwise, if no rules are met, go to a low intake. And you can create other rules, and you can use an and, or you can use an or condition. For instance, if we go ahead and update one of these, instead of just having the transaction amount field, I can add another condition here, and I can say if the card network is equal to maybe American Express. So if it's over 800, and if it's equal to American Express, this would be the condition that it's met. Or maybe put an or if it's a high transaction, or if it's American Express, because we know they have a higher commission than the others, do this or that. So it's pretty dynamic what you can create here. And what it's added to case management is basically, before this automation capability, we would only have a decision task where you would present the user with a couple of choices that you defined. Could be either yes, no, or the user could choose option A, B, C, D. And based on that decision task, you could either go to one flow or another. So if we look at this other one over here, let me see exactly what's the name of it. I think this is a decision, the dispute validity one. So this is a decision task, right? It asks a question, and then the response can either be yes or no. So based on yes or no, you can go to one activity or another. The automation capability allows you to go ahead and automatically route the flow on one branch or another, depending on the data that was already fed into it. And the data is also captured within Case Management Studio in this data tab over here. You see there are a lot of pieces of data here spanning from all types of data, to the case category and to the workflow itself. Now, I wouldn't even call this low code. Is it lower or higher? It's lower than low code. It's just configuration, right? So just imagine your business users having the capability of creating these automations based on the data that's already in the system or it's being captured through the intake form. Now, if we go back to our main page here, we can go ahead and submit a case for this particular fraudulent transactions. Let's do credit card disputes. And let's say this is a third test. I'm going to add anything in the description here, but once I hit next, I'm going to see all those data points there that I'm able to capture. So let's capture this as 950. This will go on the higher one. Let's say this is BA. Expected amount to pay should be 875. Let's go for Visa in this case. Last four digits 6767, and the state is, let's see, Georgia. And I'm going to have a confirmation. I'm submitting it. And once the case is created, I will get a case ID. There you go. This is our case ID. We can either view the case directly here or search for it in the case list. Let's jump straight into it. Now, the tasks are now being generated by the system, so we're not going to see much in the workflow yet. It will take a couple of seconds for this to pop in. There you go. So we already have the cases in, and now it's going to basically go through the automation that we set up here, route disputes. So if we refresh this quickly and filter on the status, we see that this was already completed. Let's see if we have anything in our history here. Yes, process automation has completed an automation. And now on our workflow, the active one, yeah, so this is one of the problems that we had in the automation. So the rule said if the transaction is greater than 200, go to medium intake, and the transaction is greater than 800, go to high intake. So we're missing one of the rules here in the middle. Maybe in the future we could use some AI functionality that will say, hey, this is a bit of a mistake that you've done here, so you can go ahead and update it. So basically, we're going on two branches now. It should be, or in this case, being added there, or the rules should be defined differently, maybe between rather than greater than. Let's see if we can do that. So if it's greater than, and let's say if the transaction amount is less than less than or equal to, let's say 800. So if we would have set this one up, then only the high intake would have been generated. So that's a good thing. Now you know this isn't scripted; it's real life developing for you or configuring in Case Management Studio. So that's part one. That's the new feature, the automation feature in Case Management Studio. The second one relates to portals in iframes. Now this is pretty big from my perspective because it allows the embedding of Appian portals in other applications. Now, if your company has a website, a public website with its own look and feel, your own branding, and you just want to incorporate something that would jumpstart the Appian process, you can easily do that with embedding the portal in the iframe. Now, this is a very simple portal that I've built on Appian. If I go ahead and show you the URL, it is Appian portals. So we've got that over there. The main thought behind it is this is a whistleblower portal, so somebody can go ahead and submit a message anonymous, and it will be taken into consideration by whomever manages this specific system. So let's go ahead. Incident at work. I noticed a colleague taking coffee at home. Imagine that. So let's go ahead and submit the message. So we know our portal works. We've got a confirmation over here. If I go ahead and check my messages, got a very small app here. I see that my incident at work has been submitted. It has been submitted at the day of the recording of this video. Now, how does the embedding work? Now, the first thing that you have to do is to have a portal, right? The next thing that you have to do is within your admin console of the environment where the portal is running, you have to go ahead and update the security details. So you have to allow an external system to be able to consume that specific Appian interface. So if we look at the embedded interfaces here on the integration, I have added an allowed origin for w3schools.com. This is the test that I'm going to do, but you can basically embed it in any other website. This would be the publicly available website that your company has. You have to allow this origin here in order for Appian to be accessible via that website. Next, we can, so I'm using, as I told you, W3 Schools for this. This is a script that you can run on W3 Schools. It's basically just an iframe element. So let me go ahead and copy my portal here, my portal URL. Just gonna copy this one and go back, and let's put it in the source element of the iframe over here. So now when I run this, I can see my portal appear here. Now we do have to, I think it's the height element that we have to update. So let's do height 1000, and let's do width 1700. Let's see if this works so we can see it a bit better. Okay, so it works a bit better, right? So now you see that we've got our portal embedded into W3 Schools. So we can actually go ahead and send a message. Let's say work incident again. Somebody has been stealing water balls. And this should work perfectly. Again, your message was successfully submitted. And if I go back to my messages app here and refresh it, yes, I got the message. So that's how you would embed portals in iframes. In terms of number 3 is the grid columns to Excel. So let's use the same use case for the whistleblower application. And I've got here a received messages interface. So I'm just gonna drag and drop a section. We can call this section messages. And I'll just put a grid component here, grid only grid. Well, not that relevant, but I do like to hide the name of the label, messages, and I'm gonna hide this. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and configure this. We're gonna call it whistleblower WB message, my whistleblower message. Now I've got all the messages here. And I'll also show the export to Excel button. Now what happens is when you press this export to Excel button over here, it just exports the whole, whatever you can see on the screen. So I'm just gonna export this, or whatever it is actually it exports whatever it's configured in the columns, because each of the columns, for instance, the ID one, if we go into it, it does have a show when visibility. So if you're not showing it on the screen, it's already going to be exported there. But now we have another condition here which says export when. So you can have a specific condition. Maybe for certain users, you don't want to export if you would have captured here the created, well, you don't have the created by because it's anonymous. Let's go for created on. Maybe you don't want to show when the message was created on. So if I go on this specific column, I can go ahead and say only export when, and I'm just going to put false here for simplicity's sake. So it still shows, this column still shows, but when I'm going to export it, it's not going to be there. Okay, so this is a neat functionality where you can now curate your columns when you're exporting them to Excel as well. It's pretty neat from my perspective. Now, that brings us to the end of the top 3. We've had the CMS automation, have the portals in iframes, and curating your gridded columns to be exported in Excel. I did promise two more. So bonus number one is actually one that customers are very hyped about, and that is styled text editor now comes with the possibility of capturing tables. So let's see how that works. We're gonna drag a section over here, and let's drag the styled text editor. Now, you might see straight away that tables are not here. First of all, let's go ahead and create a local variable. So we'll store that data somewhere. Text with tables, create, and I'm going to configure my styled text editor over here to save the data and show the data from that specific local variable. So we'd actually see what's happening. Now, the list of allowed formats, you would have to populate it yourself. Here it's a list of text. So we can go ahead and add item by item and just add the text here. But what I like to do is go to my quick editor mode. And if I go ahead here, I can see I've got the list of formats that are allowed. Now, don't ask me why, but by default, all the formats are allowed except table. So what I do is just copy the whole list from here and put it over here in my list. And once I hit OK, now the table format would pop in here. So you can start adding tables. Now, once you add a table, you can add columns, you can remove columns. It's a pretty Excel-wise, spreadsheet-wise format. But what happens if you want to copy a specific text? Let's see if that works. So I've got a spreadsheet here. Let me put in like a random contact tracker table. I'm gonna hide this one. So what I can do is I can copy my table from here and I can put it in my text editor. Let's make this a bit taller. Okay. Now, you might notice that it's not a copy one-to-one because it doesn't have all the functionalities as a very what you see is what you get type of an editor, but it did get the content. So it didn't get the tags or any other bells and whistles you would have in a spreadsheet, but you have the text. So you can go ahead and maybe apply some bolding to your header or apply some underlines or italic to your other elements there. But it is a good option of adding a table in your style text editor. It is something that our customers have requested for. They've requested for a lot of things, like being able to add images as well. I'm not sure if that's coming or not in the future. We'll have to wait for it. The last thing that I want to point here is that you can go ahead and check the format of this specific text in your local variable. So this is stored as HTML. And this will be stored in your database table or in your whatever backend is as HTML. So you would have to, you can display this perfectly if you just use the, where is it? The read-only version of the style text editor again. So there you go. Now you can see how it looks like. Pretty neat, right? I'm happy about this. And bonus number two, it's not going to be a major bonus, but it has to be a shout out to Autoscale because we've launched Autoscale and it caters for so many use cases, right? Straight through processing. If you have a microloan application or approval, or you have submissions for your insurance claims, schedule processing, microservices, API orchestration. From my perspective, it opens a whole new world of use cases for Appian. Again, I'm not gonna explain to you what Autoscale is. I think the name is self-explanatory, but we have tons of materials online about this, and I highly encourage you to go ahead and have a look at it and see if any of the use cases would benefit your business. I can show you though how easy it is to configure a process with Autoscale. So I'm in the process modeler here. All you have to do is open the process properties window, and you've got a new checkbox here for Autoscale to use autoscaling for your process. And it does have a disclaimer that some smart services, nodes, or configuration options are not available. It has a link to the documentation. So go ahead, dig deeper into this. And if you want a dedicated video on Autoscale, we can have that as well. Now, a couple of other mentions that I want to make is Appian World. Again, it's around the corner. It's in April 27th the 30th of April. It's in Denver, Colorado. If you've never been there, it's a lovely place to visit. If you can, I highly encourage you to go. There's going to be a lot of content, a lot of good content for you to consume at Appian World. And again, if you like what we're doing here, drill, share, like, subscribe. Please comment if you want us to make any other videos. If you're happy with this top 3, top 5 format for each of the releases, let us know. If you're not happy, let us know. Maybe we'll change something, or maybe not. You never know. But I hope this was informal and useful to a certain extent. Till the next episode, stay safe and take care. Bye.